Welcome, ELENA, to Exopolitics today.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, I really am fascinated by this report that you put out earlier this week concerning this insectoid species, the Negumak. So you want to just describe this species, and I know you wrote about them in your 2021 book, and you had a description and you drew them. So how did you get to kind of like draw them? Just tell us about how you found out about the Negumak.
Well, when I was writing this book in 2021, A Gift from the Star, 2020, I was writing about my abduction and my rescue by extraterrestrials, and the plan changed, and I started to be given information about alien races visiting Earth and involving the affairs of Earth. And I was communicating with my contact in the Galactic Federation of Worlds, Thorhan Eredion, and we have technology. We communicate via technology. I have an implant, which is a communicator, and we can share images as well as sounds, voices, but also images. And he was sending me holographic images. I would close my eyes and relax and wait for the images. It would be kind of transparent color images. And I would then open my eyes and have a very short time to draw what I just saw, and then spend time to make the drawing nice. And that's how I got all these images.
So that's the image of the Negumak that you put into A Gift from the Stars. So that's something that you saw from Thorhan. And so, I mean, that's a kind of pretty ferocious looking insectoid. So can you tell us anything about what it was that was unique to that particular species?
They are a species on their own. They come from the Scorpius constellation, from the star system Antares, actually. The name of their world is Negumak, and the name of their culture is Gnomopo, but everybody says the Negumak. They are very, very tall. They measure about 20 feet high, enormous. They are a species on their own, but they are more insectoid. And the particularity of this culture, these beings, is that they are the only beings in this galaxy that can scare the Draco reptilians, the Sikar. The Sikar are afraid of the Negumak. They are afraid only of the Negumak, and that's very important information that everyone is aware of.
Yeah, that is very important, and we're going to go into kind of more detail about this relationship between the Neguma and the Sakar. But when did Earth's government first learn about the Negumak?
I was told that they made contact in 1989 with Earth governments. That's the information I got at the time in 2020.
And I mean, did they learn that the Negumak were here and were involved in the abduction phenomenon? Were the Negumak doing abductions, before 1989, or was it just after that? And can you know anything about the abductions?
Yeah, they were performing abductions, and it stopped very quickly because for science studies of Earth, science studies, and the Galactic Federation asked them gently to stop doing this, and they stopped. And they went away. But they took contact with Earth. And the thing is, in 1989, it was full power of the cabal and the deep state and the reptilians behind them. And they didn't like the Negumak, and they were scared of them because the Negumak, they are independent and they do not like the Draco. It's very interesting. They look very scary, and they really look scary, but they are very spiritual beings. It's really weird. We are not, we have been so much fed of ugly, scary aliens want to kill us, and good-looking aliens want to save us. I mean, that's Hollywood. There are good-looking aliens who want to kill us, and there are ugly-looking aliens who want to help us. And the Negumak are actually nice people. They do not have the spirit of conquest, which is lucky for everyone. They are quite trying to be in peace with everyone, and that's good. That's good.
Yeah, very interesting that the Negumak made contact in 1989 with the governments, because soon after that there seemed to be an effort to kind of like depict the Negumak as a hostile. It's very interesting that in 1989 there was a comic book series that began, which was based on the idea of aliens versus predator. And that actually began in 1989, this comic book series. And I find it very interesting that because you mentioned Hollywood has been a tool for the deep state, working with the CIA to program people in a certain way. So if they want people to be frightened of a particular group of aliens, they can use Hollywood to do that. And I think it's very interesting that in 1989, the same year when the Negumak made contact, you have this comic book series showing a struggle between two types of alien species. One were the kind of aliens from the kind of like Alien franchise, and another were the Predators from the Predator franchise. And the Predators are like the Reptilians, and the Negumak are like the aliens in the Predator versus Alien movies. And that all goes back to 1989. I find that very curious. So again, this is an example of Hollywood kind of like shaping people's opinions.
Yes, and I was told when my book, A Gift from the Stars, came out, very shortly after, people were messaging me saying, "Oh my gosh, have you watched Independence Day?" And I said, "No, that's the same aliens, the Negumak." I went, "Wow!" And I was very impressed. And then I start to think there's something there that's not right. The people who made this movie knew about these aliens for sure, and they turned them into regressive, dangerous aliens invading Earth. But I knew from my informations that they were nothing like this. The Negumak are actually decent people,
So so Independence Day, that's another one, another sci-fi series, like the Aliens versus Predator series, the Independence Day series. I mean, that also depicts the insectoids as the enemies. And in, I think it was the first one, 1996, you don't get to see the Queen. But in the 2016 movie, you get to see the Queen. And if you look at the comparison of the drawing you did in your A Gift from the Stars with the alien, or with the alien kind of Queen, I mean, that is a very close match. And what's really interesting is that you haven't seen Independence Day 1 or Independence Day. You haven't seen either of those movies, have you?
No, I actually, to be honest, I hate sci-fi movies that depict aliens as invaders and negative and all end of the world scenario. I never watched them. I'm quite a Star Trek and Star Wars lover. I don't watch anything that type. It's just depressing or scary. So no, I haven't seen them.
Well, I think it's really amazing, the similarity. I mean, it's like I think it was Roland Emmerich. He was the director of the first Independence Day movie, probably the second as well. And he's a kind of a major Hollywood director. And here, I mean, the resemblance between the alien Queen in Independence Day 2 and the Negumak is so close that you can be sure. I mean, I would guess, and I would bet on this, that he was given a picture or a drawing, probably similar to your own, about the Negumak, and told, okay, you got to make a movie where these guys look like ruthless killers here to wipe out humanity, and they're genocidal, and you got to instill fear in humanity against these. And to me, that the fact that you drew this and you hadn't seen the Independence Day movies, you got the clear image of the Negumak from the Galactic Federation, from Thorhan, and then we see the comparison between what you received and the Negumak, what you received and the Alien Queen in Independence Day 2. The match is like, okay, this is not coincidental. It's like someone in Hollywood, Roland Emmerich, was given this image or picture and said, you got to make this movie, or you got to show these beings to be very hostile, very aggressive, and genocidal.
Yeah, because the picture I get, Thorhan was sending me the holographic images of the aliens from the Federation database. So I suppose if someone got images from there as well, or maybe there are universal pictures of every race that are like the standard, and they are like in every organizations, maybe. I don't know about that. I don't know. But so you say it's a queen. So the Negumak I saw, because I met one. Later we're going to talk about that. He looked exactly like this, but it wasn't a queen. It was just a representative, and there was a masculine energy coming from him. So that's interesting as well.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, so it's rather than a queen, we're talking about androgynous or a masculine energy coming from at least some of the Negumak. Okay, so I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Hollywood was part of some kind of psyop to instill fear in the population against this species that is a kind of like an enemy of the deep state, or of the Draco Reptilian. And I think it's very significant that we understand that Hollywood plays this role, that Hollywood has for 70 years now been putting out movies, trying to condition the global public as well as the American public to think in a certain way about aliens. So the fact that they went to this effort to depict that particular species in this very hostile, aggressive way tells you something about the motivation. Because, I mean, you said that Thorhan. So why don't you just describe, the conditions where you first saw them, and what, why you feel that they're positive race as opposed to a negative race.
You're referring to what I witnessed a few days ago.
Correct, yes.
Yes, okay. The Negumak were requested in 2021, the Galactic Federation of Worlds, in the midst of the end of the war with the deep state, not the deep state, but the Draco extraterrestrial part of the deep state and the Greys, especially the Draco. We were expulsing the Dracos out of the star system in 2021 from Mars, from other places, from Earth as well. There was a big war in the undergrounds, etc. To put all the chances on their side, the Federation asked the Negumak if they would bother coming and just be there at the edge of the star system and scare the Dracos. And they accepted. They came, and they never had to intervene, which is very good, because they're a bit frightening. So they stay there, and they're still there. They are still there as long as Earth is not sorted out with the deep state and the cabal, the human cabal now. Recently, also the Sikaar, or the Draco reptilians, they've been chased out of the star system. They are very, very angry about that, to have lost Earth and the solar system. So they are trying, they have been trying to get back in, but they cannot, because you have the Galactic Federation, and you have also the Intergalactic Confederation, or the Cedars is a group part of them, who are, I mean, there are 500 motherships in this star system around Jupiter, and there are even more around the star system outside of the plasma shield. So it's a lot. You know, the Intergalactic Confederation, they do not bother with numbers. They are an organization with many galaxies, so the numbers, they don't count. When they move fleets, it's a lot of ships. And so the Draco were trying to nagging the Negumak to starting to provoke them, to get them out, to get back into, and they wanted maybe to attack the Intergalactic Confederation, which is stupid. Anyway, so the Negumak were just tired of that, because they have a limited amount of patience, I discovered. And so instead of attacking the Draco, that tells you about them. They could have straight away answered to the provocation and attacked back the Draco, but it didn't do that. They tried to get a way to make peace with them and calm them down. So that tells you who they are. They could have wiped them out like this, and they're not looking for that. That's very interesting. So they request the Federation to have access to the genetic frequency database of the Federation concerning Earth. Why that? So a ship was allowed to come into our star system, a Negumak ship, a small ship carrying Negumak, and meet with the Federation. So they were in this star system waiting for a meeting. Why did they want this, have access to this database? It's because they were looking to take hostages, Sikaar hybrid hostages, important hostages, that they could trade with the Sikaar to get them to go away. So the Federation, I was given notice that there would be this meeting, and if I wanted to come as a reporter. So I was very excited about that. So that happened on the 19th of April 2023. I was beamed on board the Excelsior, and from there, sorry, so I was, the first time it happens to me, I was given gloves, very, very strange dark blue gloves. And these gloves are technology. And this technology, so it works on the DNA as well. So I was invited to put my hands on pads on a circular table. There was an, like inclinated field like this, and I would we would put our hands on it, and there was the whole high command of the Excelsior, and I was told we will not do a holographic projection as normally the meetings do, because the Negumak don't do holographic projections. They want people physically. They are very straight and simple people. They want things normal, and so we would bilocate. And I had never done that way, at least. Never. It was really impressive. That means I was going to be split in two. That was really weird. I never done that. So a version of me would stay on the ship with the hands on the pads, and I would be doubled, teleported to a location where the meeting was taking place, and it was physical. So at any moment, we could relocate to the ship if something was going bad. It was very interesting technology. It felt like teleportation. It felt exactly the same. So there were 3 representatives of the Intergalactic Confederation, the Cedars. There were our DANNA and High Commander Denethor. They were there as well. So I was asked to remain in my seat. It was stone seat. It was in a cave, and there was like a curtain of white, thick, grayish, thick mist in front of us. The cave was huge and it was freezing cold. So I was invited to adjust my body temperature by putting a hand on my biometric belt, and that adjusts the temperature for me. And sorry, that how to describe that? I was expecting it, but at the same time I wasn't. The Negumak were there, came through the mist. It was apparently something environmental to them, that it could breathe and be in their midst. That was their environment. The meeting was, I was told, it was taking place on one of the moon of Uranus, Ariel, because it had a carbon dioxide atmosphere. And so the Negumak arrived, and one, I could see the front part of one, and it came out of the mist. It was very scary. I was so scared. I had a shock. It was huge. And the head coming first, and then the claws, and I could hear tick, 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 tick. It was like a giant spider with metallic, I don't know, hard claws at the end of it. It was hitting the rock, and there were, I could see thick olive green tentacles in his back, browsing the mist, and he had a crest behind his neck, and it was like a dragon, and something I cannot describe by writing. I can just do it. the crest was moving like this. It was very scary, very scary, with that kind of sound of the kind of the leather or the skin moving. And every time he moved, that was doing that. So their telepathic communication engaged between himself and Commander DANNA, and I was really scared. I just put my knees against me, and I even had tears in my eyes because of the shock. It was super scary. But then Thoran calmed me down. He said, "Hey, they're nice, they're impressive, but they're nice. Calm down." So the communication was translated by Thoran to me. They told the Negumak that they cannot have access to the genetic database of the Federation because they are not members. So the Federation has been trying very hard to get the Negumak in for a long time, because once they're in, it's very good, you know, to have them. So it was, they hoped, there were 2 members of the High Council as well, of the Federation, who were there physically, and they were hoping to kind of make a bargain. They said, we are not giving you hostages. Earth, we are taking care of Earth. You have nothing to do with that. You're not a member of the Federation. But what we can do is remove 4 of these Sikaar hybrids and keep them on the Excelsior, the battleship. They don't say Excelsior, they say the battleship. And when I say Excelsior, it's the humans call this ship like this. They don't call it like this, they call it the battle station. Okay, so we take these humans, these 4 hybrids, as hostages in a jail on the Excelsior, on the battle station, and for you. And that's the deal. Otherwise, if you want them, you come, you become member. So the Negumak wasn't happy at all. He wasn't happy at all. And he was pacing the cave right to left, and moving his crest and ticking the ground, and boom, 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 boom. It was, I swear, I was terrified. Even if I knew, I was assured that I risked nothing, it was fine, and even if something went wrong, we could relocate instantly. But it was impressive. So he wasn't happy with that. So there was a lady from the High Council. She was there, an Osman lady. It's a race, human race. They are tall. They are bold, tall. She's the law keeper of the High Council, and she's in charge of keeping the Prime Directive documents. So she had a copy document of the Prime Directive, and it's a hollow. It was a hollow sphere. It's big like this, holographic sphere, blue with bit of gold, and it was in data holosphere document. That's how they store their documents. And she gave it to the Negumak, and she said, she held it towards him, and she said, well, that's our conditions, and if you want to, however one day wants to join the Federation, here's our prime directives, and with this document there are all our laws. Study them and think about it. And he took it in his hand, and then he withdrew. There were other Negumaks behind. I could maybe hear 2 of them. I don't know if there were more. In the mist, I couldn't see them. They withdrew. They stepped back and making a sound like not but kind of very, very low sound. And it was their way of salutation, to say goodbye. It was quite impressive. And then we were beamed on board the ship. So, yeah, I was still shaking, and I've been shaking following day. On the 28th, they gave their answer. So I was invited by our DANNA, High Commander DANNA, on the battle station, the Excelsior, to look at a holographic projection that was broadcasted to all the diplomatic stations in the whole galaxy, where the Negumak, one of the Negumak leaders, an important one anyway, was giving his answer, saying that the Negumak will not become members, enter membership with the Galactic Federation of Worlds on the condition of a bargain. They like our laws, they like the Prime Directive, they like our ethics, but so they are considering, and they are okay, they are considering entering as members, and it will be on their terms and when they want. So it's good because, as our DANNA said, it shows that they have ethics and honor, and that's good. And so what's going to happen is that these 4 hostages are going to be in custody of the Federation and see what happens.
So,
if you've ever tried to play guitar, but your fingers wouldn't cooperate, it's not your fingers' fault. In fact, it doesn't have anything to do with your fingers at all, or your age, or whether or not you have natural talent. You see, in daily life, we use our pointer finger for almost everything, from dialing a number, to ringing a doorbell, or ordering from a menu. But when you transfer that same habit to the guitar, it can unknowingly ruin your chances of ever being able to make it far. I know because after struggling to learn guitar,
so I just wanted to kind of people that might not know that information you put out in a video update, and also you wrote about it, and people can just go to your website, ELENA.org, to get the update, both the video with the graphics of things that you described, and of the written version, or the report that you did of that. So, people can go there to get the details of that. I thought it was an amazing report, and but the implications are really very important for us as a species, because people watching this, we're totally fixated on the idea of disclosure, deep state covering up the truth about an extraterrestrial presence. Very few of us are really prepared for all of a sudden being thrust into this dilemma in terms of a galactic war that involves these ancient species, the Draco reptilians on the one side, and then you have the Negumak on the other side, and of course, that we have depictions of that ancient war going some time. I mean, of course, you have the movies. You have Alien versus Predator, and for those that have watched the Alien versus Predator movie franchise, the first one depicted them as fighting. That this was an ancient war being fought by these species, and it took place in a pyramid in Antarctica, under the Antarctic ice, showing that this was an ancient war, and there was murals depicting the kind of extent of this ancient battle. And I found it very interesting also that in the Sasquatch message to humanity, Sunbo True Brother, who I guess channeled that work or co-wrote that work with the Sasquatch, the Sasquatch described first there was an insectoid species, and that what followed them was a reptilian species, and that the insectoid and the reptilians fought against one another. There was a war between them, and this was way before the creation of humans, according to the Sasquatch message. So it says that this war between the insectoids and the Draco reptilians goes back many millions of years. And what I found to be really interesting was that there was a lecture that Dr. Sam Osmanagic gave. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's the archaeologist behind the Bosnian pyramids. And he says that he found artwork in a number of pyramids that show this ancient battle between an insectoid species and a Draco reptilian species that goes back millennia. So there you have, it's not just Hollywood putting out this information about the Draco and the Negumak. You find elements of it in the Sasquatch message to humanity, but also Dr. Sam Osmanagic has found artwork in the Bosnian pyramid and other pyramids around the world that show this ancient battle between the insectoids and the predator species, or so the insectoids and the reptilians. So yeah, I just wanted to get your reaction to that.
Wow. So yes, that's why the Sikara are afraid of them, because they know what the Negumaks are capable to of. I didn't know about that. that could really, really well be, because the only insectoid species who could fight at least equality the Sikar, the reptilians, would be the Negumak, because no other insectoid species is strong enough to face them. Only the Negumak, and the Negumak are stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose they won this ancient war.
That's very interesting what you said, because I know that a lot of people describe the praying mantis insectoids as kind of like working with, or sometimes being allied with the Draco reptilians. And people have described the praying mantis insectoids being there with the tall greys or with the Nebu, and that they're all part of this kind of Draco Orion deep state alliance, that the praying mantis have been a part of that. But the Negumak are, as you said, a completely different species.
Oh yeah, that had nothing to do with the mantids. Mantids are a species that was spread in our galaxy from the Sombrero galaxy, and they like to be scientists and just do experiments, and they don't have the same ethics as everyone else, so they don't care for which side they work. And the Orion Empire has enslaved many of them. So that has nothing to do with the Negumak. Oh no, the Negumak are from this galaxy. They are from Antares star system, and they're really local to this galaxy. And there's nothing to do. They're 20 feet high at least. There's nothing to do with the mantis. Totally different it is.
Right. So that really kind of leads to the big question here in terms of like, okay, so, disclosure is much more than just finding out that extraterrestrials are real and the government has been hiding them from us. It's like waking up to the fact that there is a big galactic history that we don't know about, and that these different sides have been warring against each other. And now it sounds as though, from your report, that this galactic war is going to go hot at some point, that the Galactic Federation, along with this intergalactic confederation, are trying to recruit the Negumak, because the goal is to kind of like wipe out or to reduce the Sakaar influence in our galaxy. So yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
Yes, the Sakaar have been growing and growing and really annoying everyone, and they are at the origin of the Dark Fleet. So, and very much involved in the Dark Fleet. So we think that in this last war, the Dark Fleet will be on the side of the Sakaar Empire. I need to remember, we kicked out the Dark Fleet faction that was in our star system, but we didn't kick the whole Dark Fleet, Nachtwaffen. They still have their not empire, but their, the strong organization. And so they will ally the Sakaar, but, they may be very powerful. They're not as powerful as the Negumak, the Galactic Federation of Worlds, the Intergalactic Confederation, and there's another army who has offered to join, and the full fleet, the full armada, it's the Anach armada, the Anach forces. Who are the Anach or the Anachim? It's the Anunnaki. Ia assured when the Negumak gave, I was told this by our DANNA, when the Negumak gave the answer that he will join, but when they want, Ia straight away visited the Federation. He went on the Excelsior actually, and he said that, okay, I'm giving I know where this is going. I am giving the full armada of the Anak Empire if this kicks out. So, and it will. And the thing is, the Sakaar Empire has no chance. No chance. Absolutely no chance. This is too strong against them, too strong. And our DANNA told me, it's going to be more of a clearing than a war. It's going to be like everybody saying, now stop, that's enough. Now that they can, now that the Negumak joining, So it's inevitable, as I was said, but it's not for now. It's building up, but it's not for now. We have time. We never know when that can blow up, but it will be over very quickly. Yeah.
Of course, in the meantime, humanity is going to go through this incredible awakening and disclosure, where the truth is going to come out. All this hidden history will come out, and the kind of like creation of the Dark Fleet. How they worked with the deep state and with the Sakaar, and did all these horrible things outside of our solar system. And they are still here. They have a presence. They have a foothold because they are humans. So they're our problem, not the Galactic Federation's problem. And so we have to deal with them. But on the other hand, we know from different sources that the White Hats or the Positive Earth military have been working with the Galactic Federation for some time, for many decades. I mean, William Tompkins, who was one of the key people in creating the US Navy's secret space program. I mean, he talked about the Navy working with the Nordics going back to the 1950s. So this has been happening for a long time, and he said up front that the Navy was working with Nordics, and the Nordics were helping the Navy build new fleets in the Nordic spaceports in another solar system, because Earth had become so compromised. So that kind of like corroborates what you've been saying, that the Earth Alliance, Space Command are kind of like collaborating with the Galactic Federation. That is real. But of course, once humanity wakes up and learns the truth, we don't know when, but it sounds like it will happen, that there will be a confrontation with the Sakaar, because, as you said, they're angry, they are wanting to come back. For them, it's a matter of pride that they lost control of our solar system. And so at some point, they're going to come back, and it's better for humanity to be kind of allied or be a part of the Galactic Federation, as opposed to like just allowing the Sakaar to come back and we're on our own and we have no means of defending ourselves because we're still a fairly young species.
Yes, and after the Jupiter Accords in July 2021, Thoran said to me, to a question I asked him, I said, why are you hiring these CEOs such as Elon Musk and Bezos and the others to build ships and to build technologies? And he said, because we do not have time to train new ones and new factories. They are here, we're going to use them. And I say, no time? He said, he said something like, we are running out of time and we need to, we have no time. We need to be quick. And I tried to ask more questions, and he said, no, there's no solar event, no catastrophic things. It's just political and diplomatic reasons. And I didn't know more. And now it makes sense to me that humanity needs to really make an effort to get on together, fight the right enemy, which are humans on Earth in the cabal, you know which ones. And then once we unite together, we can have make the step forward and join the Federation and being, ready to defend ourselves as members of the Federation. Because once in, the Federation can really help us militarily, openly, because we are in and we are not subject anymore to the Prime Directive. So they can really do whatever they want. They can send fleets, open day, and kill the baddies. As long as we are not in the Federation, they cannot do that. So we need to just move forward and just, everything, stop being fearful, and etc., etc.
Well, that's very important, what you mentioned about the Jupiter Accords. And of course, the way you described it initially was that there were 14 nations represented at the Jupiter Accords, and 6 of those nations were part of an executive council that were formed to kind of like manage space affairs on behalf of the Earth. And the United States Space Command was chosen as kind of like the lead or the chairman of that executive council. But of course, you mentioned that Russia and China weren't very happy with the arrangement, but nevertheless, that was the condition that the Galactic Federation set for Earth joining the Galactic Federation, that we have to speak as a unified voice, and that this executive council and this leadership by US Space Command would be the key for that. So as we step forward and become a member of the Galactic Federation, how strong is this kind of like unity between the major nations, or is it paper thin? Because on the one hand, you look at the world around us now, under this Biden administration here, it's like they're trying to push the United States into a war with Russia over Ukraine. They're trying to get the US involved in a war with China. But behind the scenes, my source, JP and other sources are saying that there's the White Hats are collaborating, that there's a lot of unity between them. So is this kind of disunity or chaos on planet Earth really just a show, that really behind the scenes humanity is kind of as unified as it can be, and that we are on board and there shouldn't be any problem with us joining the Galactic Federation?
Yes, I think there's what we see and what's behind the scenes. After the Jupiter Accord, 2 ships left the Accords. Jupiter, it was a Russian ship. Well, two ships of Solar Warden carrying a Russian delegation and a Chinese delegation. And but they were still part of the whole, just they were not in the lead 6 countries who were leading the Space Federation of Earth. But China and Russia were still part of the whole thing, just not in the leader group. But they're still part of it. So that's something, you know, we need to keep in mind. China, it's true that they try to be a little bit competitive and independent, but they are still part of the whole federation. So I think it's a matter of everyone being on the same frequency of, you know, that's, we are joining the federation. We become member of the federation. And that is something that is going to happen. And it is going to be smooth and easy because once we've gotten rid of the deep state, we have everything to gain from the federation. We are sharing technology, we are sharing science, and we protect each other with no prime directive, nothing anymore. We just openly protect each other. And for Earth, we're going to be untouchable, because the Empire, like the Nebu, never attacked a world that was part of the Federation. That would straight away start a war. The Seeker have never done it as well. So once we're in, we're protected. You know, we're defended and protected. And all these enforcements of the Intergalactic Confederation that are back into this galaxy, and they are having a close hand on the things, you know, nothing can happen. Nothing can happen anymore to the solar system. We are so much protected. And the Anunnaki Empire just joins the fun. So, I mean, wow, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And while all of this happens, at the edge of the star system, the humanity of Earth is going to spread out into the star system and raise in awareness, in consciousness, in frequency, and build a beautiful new future. And those who will want to go and fight the Seeker, well, they will be welcome, but will not be obliged. I'm still studying all the politics of different worlds, part of the Federation, and I am discovering that when you enter the Federation, you could think, oh, now they've helped us. We owe them to help them and enroll in their wars. But no, we are not obliged. We do it if we want. If we want to, it's always the same free will, basic thing with the Federation. Nobody's obliged of anything.
Okay, so once this kind of like show is over, once the deep state is defeated, and you know that still can be a matter of weeks, months. We don't know when. I mean, hopefully it's not going to last too much longer. But once that happens, then the true history is revealed. People will learn about the different races, what they've done here, and people will feel much more comfortable about being with the Galactic Federation, you know, because I'm sure people, you know, there will be some that will be pretty shocked when they learn about the Negumak, and it's like, whoa, you want to be allies with that group, but then again, you know, they're the Sakars that have been part of this oppressive system. So, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Yes, right, absolutely. And yes, we have to learn about diversity, and yes, that's gonna be you know, we're gonna be good. We're gonna be good.
Mm. Well, just to kind of shift gears a little bit, I know actually one of the reasons we actually got to meet originally and talk was because of a super soldier from Singapore, Chow, and you talked to him and got to interview him a few times, and you know, we put his material, or you put his material out. I kind of helped get that material out there, and he described how, as a super soldier, he was trained to fight against the Sakar. So that was fascinating, and you know, there was other people who had come forward saying the same thing, that there were a lot of super soldiers that were being trained to fight the Sakaar. So, you know, these Predator movies are based on fact that, yeah, I mean, it's not just the aliens or the...
I am. Greatness. I am. Greatness. I am Olympia and discover Olympia Flora, the new intense eau de parfum by Paco Rabanne.
the aliens or the kind of like Negumak that have been fighting the Sakaar, that human super soldiers have been trained. So you just finished a book about your conversations with Stephen. So you want to tell us about that and when it's going to come out?
Yes, Michael, thank you. Yes, I published on YouTube a video of my interview of Stephen, where he tells a bit about his life and about his time at Area 51. But there's more than that. There are email conversations, Zoom calls, and we've been talking about Area 51 and sharing our informations about aliens. And I am making all of this public. Of course, the transcript of the video, but also all my conversations with Stephen, which are rich with so much information. So I'm publishing a book about all these conversations and corroborations as well of what he says. And I'm publishing this book on the 1st of June, 2023, and you can pre-order. You're going to be able to pre-order the Kindle in the meantime.
That Stephen wanted to be interviewed by you, even though he knew it was dangerous for him, that he was warned against it, that he was told that if he was going to be interviewed, go public, that his life was threatened. And I mean, I think after your interview went public, I mean, he died. I mean, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, actually, we were communicating and by email and Zoom conversations, and never at any moment it was a question of doing a video, because to me it was unthinkable, you know, for him. And one day I stopped having news from him. I didn't hear about him for a month or two, and I started to worry. And then suddenly he wrote back to me, and the tone was very different. You'll see in my book, there's like the emails are very long. We chat a lot, but that was like 4 lines, 3 lines, and he was in a hurry. And he said, his first email back was, "You have a YouTube channel. Can we do an interview? I'm ready to speak." I was shocked, and I answered, "Are you sure? Because you know, I don't want you to get any trouble." And he didn't reply. He said, "Yes, schedule me an appointment." And I said, "Are you sure?" And he wasn't replying. And so he insisted and said, "Okay, let's do it. But in a moment I can take it down or change your mind." "Oh, it's fine." So I edited the video, but I was feeling a bit embarrassed, you know, because he's risking a lot with that. And he rushed me to put it. And the last email before the video was aired, he said it was written in capital, "Put it out, please." And he write, "I'm bleeding, I have blackouts and I'm bleeding." Wow. So I put it out and telling him, "Okay, you tell, I take it down whenever you want." And he died 4 days later.
So it sounds as though he was under attack, that he was talking to you, giving you information, telling you about the Super Soldier program, the involvement of high-level officials in Singapore. He was taken to Area 51. He was observing how things were conducted there, and he talked about some of the craft and the scientists involved there. And so he knew that his time was short because he was talking to you. And yeah, it sounds like what you were able to record of your conversations and the emails and the final interview really was his final will and testament to humanity. Like he's a hero to humanity for wanting this to go out, and he felt compelled to do it.
Yes, and I felt guilty for a while until I was told that no, he wanted, it's a gift. He knew you were protected, and you helped him giving his testament, his legacy to humanity, and it's an honor. It shows you. I went, wow, yeah. So he was interacting with me because I knew stuff about aliens, and he said that it was corroborating his experience, so he just wanted to share, and I was so happy to share with him. But then, yeah, he died. He was under attack. So he said that before in the moment, yes, I knew that after, when I didn't have news from him, that these 2 months, apparently he received threats from an organization, and he wasn't the only one. Other employees of Area 51 had received harsh, severe threats not to come forward and not to talk. And then he emailed me again, and he said, I want to talk, I want to speak now. And he was really determined.
Well, I think he's a very brave person, and I think he finished life in a way that is, really good for him. I mean, I think that was his sole mission, to kind of like have these experiences and to tell humanity, share that, and that was wonderful that you helped him, that you facilitated that. So the book, when is it going to be released, and can people pre-order it?
I am going to put the pre-order on the 8th of May, and it will be, they can start to pre-order, and then on the 1st of June, the paperback will come.
Wonderful. Okay, well, we'll have links for people that want to order that book, but June 1st, it'll be released. So I wanted to now kind of shift to another topic, which is very topical at the moment, which is a lot of these orb sightings that are happening all around the world. And, there's been a lot of speculation as to where these come from. So I just wanted you to maybe talk a little bit about the Cedar ships, because I know you talked about, I think it was 4 Cedar ships that you fleet and were approaching the Earth and were going to park around the Earth and do things. So were there 4? Are there more? Are they releasing probes? Are they releasing orbs? You want to tell us?
Yes, the Intergalactic Confederation that arrived in October 2021 in our star system, they are 500 motherships near in the vicinity of Jupiter. They parked a little bit, few months later in 2022. They brought 4 motherships in orbit of Earth. They are cloaked, you can't see them, and that's when a disclosure plan was started with the Intergalactic Confederation, that they would also show their ships more often in the Earth atmosphere, to start to get people used to see scout ships and, flying saucers, etc., to prepare the disclosure. Recently, a few months ago, not very far from now, 2 more ships of the Federation, of the Intergalactic Confederation, arrived in the orbit of Earth. 2 more motherships. So now there are 6 Intergalactic Confederation motherships in the orbit of Earth, cloaked, because the disclosure plan moved forward. start of 2023. It's very recent, probably in March, I think they arrived. The orb starts to be released at that same time. The Intergalactic Confederation uses this kind of technology. These are probes. So the Galactic Federation of Worlds uses probes as little flying saucers or little metallic ships. The Intergalactic Confederation, who are more advanced in technology, they use plasma orbs, and they are like remote viewing cameras. They are like cameras. That means they have technology in their ship, and they send the orbs, and they're like flying cameras, and they see that on the screen. But not only cameras, they can record frequency signature, any type of things, any type of data. So they are roaming the Earth. They are sending orbs to seek for particular humans. Particular humans who are meant to play a role in the disclosure, and especially with the ARCs. These humans have special DNA frequencies. They have the DNA cocktail necessary to activate, to work the technology. So they are gathering these, they're not gathering them, they're spotting them. Because these humans have the seeders, some of the seeders genetics, so they can work the technology of the ARCs, some of the ARCs. That's interesting.
Yeah, I remember the interview. We had both interviewed this French contactee, Robert L., and he talked about the orbs that he had an experience of sighting, and that they had this function. And when he was at the base in the Himalayas, that he was able to see how they operated. So do you remember that incident? Maybe you want to describe it?
Robert L., yes, he's a French contactee. He's in his 70s now. Yes, we both had a chat with him, and you made a video report about him and an article, I remember. He spent 1 year in a base of the Intergalactic Confederation with actually the Altians in the Himalayas. And they had these orb technologies. Yes, before we know now, we had conversation with Robert, we know it's the Altians. Before they contacted him in his farm in remote, rural French Southwest, they were sending these orbs around the farm, on the roads to study. They were picking the right DNA. And that's exactly what they're doing now, Michael. It's right. They were roaming for, browsing and scanning for the right DNA. That's how they picked Robert. That's it. That's the same thing. So they picked him to, they offered him to come for a year in this base in the Himalayas to give his semen for helping populate other worlds. And that's exactly what the sealers do. And he had quite an interesting time there. And there was these orbs. And at one moment in the base, on the table, there's this monitor, and he sees his house. And they tell him that there's an orb there that transmits the image, the pictures from France. Yeah, well done, yes.
Yes, very interesting. JP also said that the ARCs are releasing orbs to kind of like gauge or measure our planet's population. So what do you think is happening with the orbs that are being released by the ARCs, or do you know anything about that?
I think the ARCs, I was told about this frequency genetic scanning. I think the ARCs are about to be revealed. They plan to show them, start to get them fly, but the deep state is just fighting teeth and nail to just, they won't let it go. So it's taking time, postponing things, but eventually the ARCs will show themselves. And there will be humans able to use this technology. and there are apparently a lot of humans. So, you know, that's the only thing I know for the moment.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember I asked Alex Collier about the orbs being released by the arcs, because JP said that the arcs are releasing these orbs and they're going around, and there's just an increase in them, and that the military is concerned about that or is aware of that. And so Alex thought that the orbs were looking for the crew of the arcs. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that totally goes into the same idea of looking for the people who are able to work this technology. Of course, yes. Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that takes me to this kind of development that you actually have the new head of the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which was created last year to monitor UFO reports and to give regular reports or annual reports to Congress, to the US Congress, about UFO sightings in the US. And now, in their most recent report, they described, now they're monitoring 650 UFO cases, and while they can explain some, many they can't explain, and so they're saying these are real UFOs, but they're saying that they don't know what they are. The head of that office, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, he co-wrote a paper with this professor from Harvard University, Avi Loeb, who's the head of the Galileo project, searching for technosignatures, somewhere in our galaxy, that they wrote a paper saying that a mothership may be behind the UFO phenomena, that a mothership is releasing these probes. So what do you think of that? Do you think this is an example of the deep state trying to get ahead of the story, or is it preparing us for what's to come down? So there you have the story in Politico.
Well, there are two things. There are really two motherships of the Intergalactic Confederation who came in the orbit of Earth to perform this task of releasing orbs. That's a fact. But the deep state could as well, they do that very well, take advantage of a situation and turn them at their advantage by saying, oh, there's all these orbs around, and let us bring our own narrative first to say something, to explain it at our advantage, and then use it to, why not the alien invasion scenario? We never know what they have in store.
Right, it does seem that it's more than coincidental that they come up with this mothership releasing probes or orbs explanation at the same time as you said that you have now 6 motherships from the Intergalactic Confederation around the Earth releasing probes. It's like they're getting the public ready for this, and I guess the question is this a deep state operation or is this a white hat operation? I know that Thorhan gave this disclosure plan back in January to the 4-star general that runs Northern Command in the United States, General Glenn Van Herk. He gave him this disclosure plan. So do you think this is part of the disclosure plan? This paper, or the Intergalactic Confederation motherships coming here and releasing orbs, is that part of the plan?
It can very well be part of the plan. I don't have the information, but knowing them, we are dealing with highly intelligent organizations, and they each part is trying to play the other using martial arts techniques. So it's very intricate. You never know who does what, but at the end of the day, there's a disclosure plan, and this disclosure plan is very well done, and it will surprise the deep state at the last moment. And so it's very, very secret. That's why it was given hand in hand. And, Michael, even if I knew the whereabouts, I wouldn't even been able to tell, because I would just mess it up, So there is a plan that is unfolding. It's very, very well done. Very well done. So let's see what happens.
Yes, yes. Well, I know there's a lot of things going on now. There's a few people that are putting out different scenarios about what's going to happen, and I think this is all predicated on what we've been discussing. That the motherships are here, they're orbiting the Earth, they're releasing probes. You've got the space arcs that are buried that are starting to release probes, and they're starting to kind of like activate, and they're going to be floating soon. So that leads to how is the deep state going to react? Because even though this is again something we need to emphasize, that even though the negative extraterrestrials, the Salla, the Draco, the Nebu have had to leave our solar system, the deep state still has a lot of assets, a lot of power. So how are they going to spin all of this? And so that leads to, is there going to be a fake alien invasion? There are some people that say there's going to be a real alien invasion. And, one of my former associates, Randy Kramer, is putting out information that there's going to be a real alien invasion. And I don't agree with him, but, he's putting that out. But another associate, another person that I just recently interviewed, is John D'Souza, former FBI agent, and he says that he comes up with a different kind of scenario, which is one that no, it's not going to be a real alien invasion at all. There's not going to be aliens involved at all, but it's going to be the deep state using holographic technologies and some of its hardware to simulate an invasion, an alien invasion. So what do you where do you stand on all of that?
Where I stand is that no one can come through to the star system unauthorized. So real alien invasion, it's no. This scenario of real alien invasion just came back to the scene just when, it's funny, when the Negumak were starting to think about making alliance with the Federation and a ship coming into the star system. So that was funny. That scared if the deep state knew about this, it would scare them so much, and they would try to really demonize the Negumak, like, oh, ugly, harmful aliens are coming. That's this. So so as I said, no one can come through. It's impossible. Then I think John D'Souza has the right information. He has the data he gives is something that the deep state has planned since a long time. But then I have also information that the Federation will not let this happen, because this will be against the whole disclosure plan that they have been preparing, the Federation. And the Solar Warden, the US Navy, the positive space programs, the Earth Alliance, they are working on a soft disclosure, progressive disclosure. So a fake alien invasion in that would be stopped. I was told that we will not let this happen. But so that's information I have beside what John brings.
Okay, very interesting. So the whole Project Bluebeam that's been around since the mid or early 1990s, that the deep state prepared for all of that, even though they still have some technologies and assets and holographic means that they're not going to be allowed to, that the Earth Alliance, the military white hats are working with the Galactic Federation to prevent that from happening, because as you say, yes, it'll just create chaos and a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Okay, and that makes sense. I mean, why traumatize the public any more than they need to? Because once the truth is coming out, it's going to be traumatizing as it is to learn the history of what's been really happening on our planet.
Yes, and we have enough to be impressed with all the truth that have started to come out. I mean, we don't need more,
Right, yeah. So this kind of takes me to the final kind of segment that series of questions I want to focus on, which is, the religious community. I mean, the religious community have been kind of like pretty brainwashed by the negative extraterrestrials, and some of it is coming out. Now, of course, at the heart of the Judeo-Christian or the Abrahamic faiths is this supreme deity called Yahweh, or Jehovah, or Yaldabaoth. And there's a lot of debate over exactly who this being is. Is it, as some Christians, some Muslims, some Jews believe, this all-powerful God that stands above all of the other gods or ETs? Or is it just one ET imposter pretending to be an all-powerful God, fooling the religious community into believing that he is this all-powerful being, but yet all he is just one among many different extraterrestrials, that he's none other than Enlil or maybe Marduk? So you want to maybe talk about that?
Yes, thank you, Michael. That's a very important topic. The God of the Ancient Testament, Yahweh, was a bloodthirsty evil entity. He was called the Master of War, and there are many texts that I'm not a Bible scholar, but I know Bible scholars who have researched this topic and are very good at just saying the same thing, with corroborating ancient text. Yahweh was an Anunnaki god, and from my information, he was Enlil. Enlil means the master of the commander, the master of war as well. And we know that he was reptilian. He had no empathy, and he totally fits the God of the Ancient Testament. And his aim was to keep humanity enslaved and arguing with each other. He was constantly asking everybody to bash each other, to kill each other, slaughter each other. He wanted to. There's an episode in the Ancient Testament where Yahweh asked young virgin girls 32 for himself. I mean, come on, it's not the God of love, it's nothing to do with that. It wasn't the God. The notion of God, in fact, it's something that humans put on extraterrestrials who were almighty and wanted to be worshipped. There's also the notion of God, which is an archetype or an egregore for an environment that humans didn't understand. But in the case of Yahweh, it was a real person, a real extraterrestrial. And he was really evil and playing out. And his opponent, who was Enki, tried to help humanity, tried to save the damages. And Yeshua was an envoy from Enki. Enki had engineered with his scientists this activated bloodline with Adam or Adapa, and this royal, in a way, bloodline of activated humans. That means we have all in ourselves these abilities. Yeshua was saying, everything I can do, you can do too. Yeshua was sent at a moment where the Roman Empire was taking so much power and everything was really going really bad, and Yahweh was really taking power, Enlil. So Yeshua was sent to turn the population against Yahweh and tell them, he's not a real God. You have the kingdom of God within yourself, and by teaching them love and compassion, and it ended bad for him. But so yeah, Yahweh was an evil entity. So the Christians maybe these truths are coming out, and I'm not the only one to say this. There are people who study really the text and really can prove it with the text. The Christians may be a bit lost learning about that, but it's because when they learn that the Roman Empire has just shifted into the Holy Roman Empire, it's still the same people. Okay, there was this religion growing, so they assimilated it and took it as a tool of power. The institution is evil. The institution of the Vatican is evil, based on evil entities, evil reptilian entities, Sikar and Reptilian Anunnaki, which are gone now, but the institution is crumbling down, but still has some power. And the Christians are going to be faced with this, are starting to be faced with this, truth are coming out, but it's there's a solution, there's a way. The Christians, what do they want? They want to honor an entity of love and fraternity and etc. Well, that's the creator source. That's the source of creation. That's not a god. It's a source of consciousness, of energy. And Yeshua or Jesus was coming to send to say that. So if people just stay Christians, but just stick to what Yeshua was teaching people and Yeshua's teachings, it's still Christianity, and it's the real Christianity. It's all about love, helping each other, and etc., etc., and having direct connection with Creator Source. Jesus never spoke about churches or priests. No, he fought the priest. He fought the priest. He fought them. When he was judged, Pontius Pilate, he said he didn't want to crucify Yeshua, but it's the priest, the priest of Yahweh. They said, you need to crucify this man because he's saying bullshit. And the real power, God, it's Yahweh, and it's the Roman Empire, it's the Roman Emperor. So you need to get rid of this guy who's just annoying everyone. That's what happened. When people realize this truth, wow, that's a big change.
Yeah, I think that's going to be part of the revelation. And it's worth pointing out, I agree with what you said about the Catholic Church being taken over by reptilians very early on. And it goes back, back to the early period of Christianity, because a lot of people don't know that, now people think there are 4 Gospels in the Bible, in the New Testament, Matthew, Luke, John, and Matthew, Luke, John, and there's a 4th one that escapes me at the moment, Mark. So the 4 Gospels, but there were actually another 4 Gospels. There were 8 to begin with, and the other 4 were the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Philip, the Gospel of Thomas, and the Gospel of Truth. And there were 8 Gospels circulating at the time, and the latter 4 Gospels of Thomas, of Philip, of Luke, they were giving a very different picture of Christianity, of Jesus. And they actually described that Jesus was emphasizing the light within, that he was advocating that his followers learn to embrace the light within, that he was there to help people connect with that inner light.
Exactly.
And what the Catholic Church did was that they, with the help of the Roman Empire, they had the other 4 Gospels that talked about Jesus encouraging his followers to find the light within, that women were actually equals to men in the journey, that Mary was actually was the leading apostle. It wasn't Peter. Peter wasn't the leading apostle. It was actually Mary Magdalene was the one that had the deepest understanding of Jesus's teachings. That's very clear in the Gospel of Philip. But that was all suppressed because when the Roman Empire decided to convert to Christianity, they were interested in power and hierarchy. And they said, well, how do we do this? So they talked to the leading Christian bishops, and they came up with this scheme and said, okay, we want you to create a hierarchy where you have at the top a pope, bishops, priests, and then the people. And and you will have everything you need to make that happen. And so the Orthodox Christians suppressed all knowledge of these other 4 Gospels and suppressed all the historical memory of the Gnostics. And it was only up until 1945, with the discovery at Naj Hammadi, when the Gnostic texts were discovered, that all of this came out. And so this has been suppressed. Even now, they're suppressing this. But I think this is going to come out. And in the 4 suppressed Gnostic Gospels, it's very clear Jesus taught everyone to find the light within, because together that light within is part of this universal light, which is God, which is the Father. And that this being that calls himself God, Yahweh, was in fact the demiurge. He's a pretender. That's actually part of the Gnostic teachings. So yeah, I totally agree that this is going to be a real watershed for Christians around the world. And I assume that Jews and Muslims will go through their own process, because yeah, the truth has been suppressed for such a long time.
Yes, and it's not a faith crumbling down. They must not see that like this. They must see like an institution who has lied to people to manipulate them is crumbling down. But the faith remain in the good things, in the love, finding the connection, the Creator inside, within ourselves. Go back to the teaching of Yeshua for the Christians. And there were these groups of extraterrestrials, were Anunnaki. They were the protagonists. You had Enlil playing Yahweh. Sometimes they were swapping, but most of the time it was this. Enlil playing Yahweh, Marduk playing Satan, and Ninurta playing Allah. Yeah, in other times I would be burned for that. but Enki was there as well, and he was the one who told what's his name, Noah, to build to build the ark and save, and because Noah was the carrier of the bloodline of activated people, and he was behind the scene always trying to save the activated people, that this genetic strand stays in the population and multiply and spreads out, and the humans, it's like Enki installed an antivirus in the population, with activated DNA. Then people who are the descendants of this bloodline, a lot of people now, have activated powers, especially healing and paranormal powers. And that's how we are normally when we're activated. So it was a good move.
So when we come to this idea, which is kind of like at the core of a lot of evangelical Christians, which is the return of Jesus, with the emergence of the Cedars, with the rise of the space arcs, with the return of Enki or Prince Ea, with the return of Jesus, how does that figure out? How does that kind of figure? Are we talking about a real historical being, Jesus, returning, or are we talking about the teachings that he promoted, and that's what's returning?
Michael, I'm so glad you said it, because I share totally this thing. Jesus is not returning as himself or as a being. It's the frequency of his bloodline. It's his spirit, his teachings, as you said. It's totally it. Now we are in the time where the institution, the Catholic institution, is crumbling down, and with it all the other fake institution based on enslavement of the population by ignorance and submission. And when that crumbles, there's the renaissance of this faith in human, faith in who we are, and faith in the connection directly with, we can call it God or Creator or Source, because we are a fractal of it. And that is what I am really fighting to tell everyone. Yes, we are made at the image of the Creator, not the bodies, people, the soul. We are fractals. The consciousness is a fractal of Source. And we are, as a fractal of source, we have the quantum entanglement to create a source. And just by meditation and just centering our thoughts into who we are and our own frequency, we have direct line with God. We don't need churches, institution. What is it? It's power control, fear pressure. I mean, to tell a baby or that the baby is born with sin, what's wrong with you people? That's not right. So we are coming back to the truth. And the saying, truth shall set you free, but first it needs to shatter your illusions. That's not enjoyable, but it needs to happen. So to go through this change, go back to the essential, our direct connection. And if you want to, if the Christians wish to stay really Christians, let Yeshua study his material, and that's true Christianity for me. I'm not a Christian, but I would do that anyway.
Yes, well, I mean, when you go to the truth, and Yeshua was really a dissident. Jesus was a dissident. I mean, he was persecuted because he wanted to empower people. He wanted people to go within and find the light within, not to give their power away to priests and hierarchy. That's why they crucified him. And of course, it's ironic that the church perpetuated that, but there are those Christians that kept that alive, and I think this is going to be one of the things that is going to be really amazing for those that follow the Christian teachings, that this true knowledge is going to come out. And I think this disclosure is going to have something in it for everybody. So in finishing up, any webinars? I know you just did one at the end of April. When's your next webinar coming up?
I'm going